David Simon's most recent miniseries, The Plot Against America. We talked about the first episode, based on a fairly well-known book. The plot is basically if Lindenberg won the presidency.
Lindenberg.
Lindenberg.
You got it. Lindbergh.
Lindbergh. Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, am I saying it wrong? I was saying it wrong. If Lindbergh won the presidency over FDR, and if he was also basically like a Nazi sympathizer or puppet as the president. We really liked the first episode. We talked about how it really was just like table setting the world that David Simon does so well in these shows. I was a little bit nervous. I don't know if I mentioned this in the first episode review, but I was a little bit nervous about how well he was going to be able to do that in a 6-episode miniseries, because a lot of his shows like The Deuce, The Wire are multi-seasons. You really kind of live in these worlds. They're 10-episode seasons, so there's just a lot more time. I mean, I should never have doubted David Simon, because I came away from this really blown away, and mostly blown away at the way he was able to like build tension in this show. So it leading up to the last 2 episodes, and the tension was never anything like super big. Like it's not like Breaking Bad where there's these huge gunfights and these huge like we have to like get out or like get away from this like cartel member, or like Better Call Saul, like we're about to talk about in a second. It's the fights between the family, it's the tension, it's the things he doesn't show you and how they affect the people and they affect the interpersonal relationships and just the cultural climate that just so beautifully done. So I of course was blown away, and David Simon remains one of the kings in the TV world. Were you feeling similarly?
Yeah, it's funny, coming off the first episode when we talked about it, kind of laying out expectations of, like you said, we know Simon's going to present applicable commentary to the modern times through an adaptation of a novel taking place in the 1940s, because that's how talented he is. And it kind of goes, honestly, as expected. I don't know if there's really any surprises, whether you're familiar with the novel or not, but because he's able to weave in familiarity with themes and the sentiments of characters in such, I think it's really done really well, because it's usually pretty subtle. There's no on the nose quotes, but because they always make sense in the context of the story of the show. But it always brings you back to today and talking points and whatnot. And I think of like when he's talking to his friend at the he's talking to his brother, David Krumholtz. And he's like, he's just making like, well, you're a businessman, so you don't really care as long as the money's good. And it's like, oh wow, we know what that's a comment about. That was great.
Yep.
But obviously the scripts are great. The world building, the set design is immaculate, and the acting is awesome. Zoe Kazan was really great. She almost could have used more scenes. Like we get a lot of Morgan Spector, and I don't know if his character really has a lot of growth. He's just kind of like presenting this like silent rage. He's probably embodying how Simon really feels, and Simon is a Jewish man.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I thought it was awesome overall. It's and at 6 episodes too, it's like it's so easy to recommend because you get so much in such little time investment because he's that good.
Yeah, I agree about Kazan. I think she was the biggest winner in all this for me. I mean, you obviously have Winona Ryder and John Turturro, who are just forces, and really like the probably the characters who you kind of like and end up being the most despicable in a way, and despicable by their ignorance and their idiocy. But Kazan, and the way that her character just completely grows into this strong mind, strong-willed female in this household, where you just kind of keep stepping up and saying like, no, this is what I believe, this is the way that things are, this is what we should do. And to finally hear Sandy say to her, or not Sandy, to finally hear her husband say to her at the end, Herman say to her, you were right, we should have gone best. Like that was like such a it felt like such a win, but then it was too late. And I think that's the thing Simon does so well in this is like you feel just as trapped as her and the kids do, even though Sandy is a little shit the whole time and doesn't realize to the very end. I hated that kid, man. Could not
Yep.
stand him.
As I'm watching it, I'm like, here's that thing where portrayals of teenage and preteen children on screen usually is tough. And well, it was certainly intentional in this one because God, is Sandy a little shit basically the whole time.
Yep.
Just detestable, right? And
absolutely.
I was actually quite impressed with Azzy Robertson, who plays what's the little kid's name? Philip.
Yeah.
Really emotive face for like
Yep.
a 8-year-old or however old he is. You know, obviously he was in Marriage Story. He's a
Mm-hmm.
renowned child actor, I guess. But I thought he actually was pretty impressive for playing the little kid.
I thought him and Jacob Level, who played Selden, both really good. And
Yeah.
Selden, I was most impressed by his voice work because, man,
Yeah.
when Bess
That's
is on
an
the phone
accent,
with
all right.
him and he's like, "My mom, she's dead," and like that phone call, dude, my heart was literally breaking. I was like, "We gotta go get Selden. Like, we gotta go." I was getting,
He just
I want
wants
to
to
go get
play
myself.
chess and collect stamps, bro. Come
I
on.
know. Oh, that is so heartbreaking. And also how Philip, tells his aunt, like, I don't want to move away from my best friend. Then they get sent to
Kentucky.
Kentucky or
Yeah.
wherever they went. Oh, heartbreaking. That drive where Herman and Sandy go to Kentucky to retrieve Selden was some of the most tense, like, stuff I can remember, and it was like slow moving. Like when when they go by that church that's on fire, or it was a synagogue, and the Klansmen are like just in the street and they're staring at Herman. He's like reaching for the gun, hasn't clicked. Like, oh my god, my heart like stopped with that, and just amazing because like I said, like even you see the nephew there, played by Anthony Boyle, going is his name Alvin? Yeah. He goes to war, loses his leg. You never see him in the war other than some basic training and getting ready for things, but you don't see him actually in battle. You don't see him lose his leg. You kind of just see the after effects. You
Right.
don't see like Lindenberg's child get taken, how that kind of impacts whatever, and all stuff around it. You just see like the cultural impact it has on the side. And I just thought Simon is just so good at showing you what's important and not getting lost in the weeds and things. So
Yeah.
again, great.
Yeah, that one scene in London when he's with the British soldier that he has a little fling with, and the air raid's gonna start. So they're like, oh, let's go in the tunnels, and it shows like it's Camden Town. It's like, oh, cool, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
But I like because like there's a lot of smoke and stuff, and the camera's like behind. And I'm like, oh, cool. This was totally just made on like a set, but it looks really good.
Yeah.
And that was like the one time I could like see the filmmaking. Otherwise, it's like I don't know where they. I didn't look up where they shot this fictional Newark, but like the period detail, I mean, obviously really stands out. And I really like too is I think this will probably, being that it's on HBO, has a large platform, this probably just generally provides more awareness about the shittiness of Henry Ford and Charles Lindbergh. When obviously this is a completely fictional story, but those character traits that we get from Lindbergh and Ford in this are based on reality. Ford in particular was a really racist guy, and he's obviously not portrayed in a good light in this. So I think that just kind of educates more people,
Yeah.
And even Lindbergh, who exposed some questionable ideals as like a pacifist and like not really a Nazi, but not exactly anti-Nazi, like and like pro-eugenics and stuff. Like I think this will spur some good Googling, because everyone just knows Charles Lindbergh. He flew the plane across the Atlantic. That guy. Well, actually, he sucked too. But
yeah. Well, in his child crime of the century is what it was called. His child kidnapped from its crib. That was the whole thing. By the way, it was actually shot on scene on location for a lot of this, like in Jersey, in New York City in parts, and then
hell yeah,
a little bit in Baltimore. So David Simon getting that on location filming. Do we know what Simon's next thing is? I couldn't find anywhere what his next project was.
No, I don't think so. And obviously, if he had anything planned, it wasn't able to start
Right.
due to all the shutdowns. But it's because like when the Deuce was wrapping up season 3, we already knew what the plot against America, and they had basically already shot it. Like he was working fast. So I guess it seems like he was maybe just taking a little time
Mm-hmm.
because he basically worked for 4 years straight between the Deuce and this. So
Yeah, I don't blame
that's
him.
all good.
But
Take your time.
yeah, whenever he comes back, whatever he wants to make, I'm all in on it, man.
Right. I
And
mean, in terms of like the prolific TV titans of the time, he without a doubt makes most shows. So
for sure.
he's well ahead in that regard. He's allowed to take an extra year off if he wants.
And Dave, since we're in quarantine and we're gonna be finishing up Westworld next week, this could be a good time for you to dive into The Wire and catch up.
It is a good time. I think about this multiple times a week. Have I started it? No, I haven't. One day.
Yeah. Well, one day you'll get to it and you won't regret it.
I've only said that for, I don't know, 8 years of my life, maybe.
Well, if you are a David Simon fan in any way, or just a fan of historical fiction, we recommend The Plot Against America.